I like to search autism in media on YouTube from time to time. I did this recently. I watched a handful of videos describing the variety of portrayals of an autistic character in different types of media. After watching one or two, the next day or so I get a video from a YouTuber called Skulltrot my recommended. The thumbnail reads Reading Low Empathy and is titled Donnie, Rise of the TMNT, Autism Representation in Media. And ever since watching that video, my life has not known peace. I've digested the entirety of both seasons of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the 2022 movie, twice. And by God, do I want a third season. Word going around is that if the viewership of the movie and show on Netflix goes up, that might happen. So, go and watch ROTTMNT. Season 1 and the movie are on Netflix, and Season 2 is pretty easy to find. Both seasons are also on Paramount Plus, but I can't be arsed to pay for that. Netflix funded the movie anyway, so who cares? I'd assume that the majority of people are aware of the TMNT. The franchise was popularized by the 1987 cartoon, which ran partway through the 90s, spawning loads of toys. There's a lot of incarnations of the beloved characters, and I was vaguely aware of some parts of the franchise until I was thrown into ROTTMNT. I remember seeing bits and pieces of the 2012 cartoon on Nickelodeon, but I never really watched it. I frequently switched between Cartoon Network and Nick, but I almost never went to Disney XD or the Disney Channel. I also accumulated a surface level knowledge of the franchise just through internet osmosis. And I still don't know everything there is to know. I'm not at that stage of the obsession at the moment. I never heard of the 2018 reboot before the aforementioned video essay, so I'm assuming that you watching this also haven't heard of it. I don't know why we, as a society, have been sleeping on this cartoon. Okay, quick summary time. Assuming you come from a basic understanding of the TMNT franchise, that is. In this universe, there is mystic energy, which is kind of like magic. There are yokai, assuming you know what those are, and they mostly live in Hidden City, which is far below New York. There are also mosquitoes full of ooze-skeetos, that turn people into mutants. For the majority of the show, the boys don't wield their signature weapons. Raph has twin tonfas that can create a mystic construct of himself. Leon has an odachi, which can create portals. Mikey has a kusari fundo that can ignite in flames. And Dunny doesn't have a mystic weapon, he just has his tech bow, which is a bow with tech all inside it. He has goggles that can detect mystic energy though. The series starts with the boys already being friends with April. And April is black. A lot of people were butthurt about this when her design was revealed. Apparently, the original April in the comics was designed with the characteristics of a creator's girlfriend, and the girlfriend was black. Okay, I love the style. The animation and art direction is so sex. I don't have any other words to describe how much I love the way the show looks. A real pet peeve of mine is the popularity of the ugliest Flash-looking puppets. What I mean by puppets, not like physical puppets, but animation rigs that can be moved like a puppet instead of drawing everything each time. South Park is forgiven because that style is kind of their thing, but BoJack Horseman comes immediately to mind. I just hate how the damn things look. Everything is so stiff, it has no character. That's so not the case in Rise. And everything is just so alive and cartoony. I really can't compare Rise to other incarnations of the TMNT in terms of cartooniness, but I just love it. A lot of times, the boys have really goofy faces or poses, and a lot of the time, the poses are pushed really hard and dynamically, and it just makes the show more interesting to look at. The fight scenes are just deliciously choreographed. The best way I can describe it is that it looks cool as hell. The turtles just kick so much ass. The dynamic and pushed poses also add to the amazingness of the fight scenes, and camera angles are just so dynamic, and it's just so cool. I'm becoming a bit of a broken record, but there aren't better words. The most glaring difference between Rise and other incarnations is the character design. Each of the boys looks different. Love this. I'm not the biggest fan of just palette swap versions of characters. Sometimes they can work fine, but like the main 4 characters?
She looks like every other bitch!
Rise makes each turtle a different species, different ages, and different sizes. The art style of the show in general is just appealing to me. Some parts of the style and animation, notably the faces, remind me of Paul Terword's work on Eddsworld, and I just like the way that looks. One reason is that it's not one of those god-awful puppets I don't like, but there's a good balance of pointy bits and curvy bits on the design. I don't hate the CalArt smile as much as other people, but the character design in Rise is a breath of fresh air. The color choices are also divine. The lighting in some scenes just works with the background and characters, and everything that needs to pop pops, and everything else just looks so natural. Again, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but I just love how this looks. I don't really watch any other cartoons, so I don't have a good comparison. I've seen clips of the 2012 show, and that show suffers from having dull and boring backgrounds. And also barren because it's a 3D animated show, and they didn't have the budget to fill the backgrounds with scenes of stuff. Well, okay, some scenes in Rise, the filler characters aren't the best looking, and sometimes look very busted, and barely animated in comparison to the main action. But I'd rather have busted looking background characters than none at all, and most things are brightly colored, so nothing is disgustingly drab. On to the writing. Again, I can't really compare Rise to other incarnations of TMNT. I find a lot of the writing really funny.
Well, Leo, since you sell the fewest action figures, why don't you go ahead and jump first?
And this paired with the goofy faces people make get me to die laughing. I also couldn't believe that they put a whole parody of Modern Major General in 119B, How to Make Enemies and Bend People to Your Will. Also, I was in disbelief that John Cena voices the big bad of the first season, and sings in that parody. But I also love that each brother has a rounded personality and isn't too one-dimensional. I mean that, like, Raph isn't angry all the time for no reason. He's frustrated because he feels pressure to protect his family as a leader and big brother. There are far better examples of the things that Rise did well with their characterizations, but I can't speak to them myself. Now, not every writing decision is free of sin. There are a couple choices that I wouldn't have made. One that comes to mind is in 102B, Donnie's Gifts, where after Donnie learns the lesson that his brothers are fine the way they are, they forgive him immediately, as if he didn't make a helmet that verbally bullied Raph, an inflatable suit that limited Mikey's movement, and a shock collar for Leon. But episodes are only 11 minutes. I'll have to deal with it. Makes a good starting point for angst fix anyway. The Autistic Turtle. I might have digested the entirety of ROTTMNT if I saw a video about it, but I can't say for sure. But because my first exposure to it was from a video about how Donnie is great rep and canonically autistic, so that means I had to watch it. That's how I got into Community. I saw a video explaining how great Abed is. And for other shows too. I just keep coming back because there's a character who's autistic or autistic coded. It isn't stated explicitly in the show or movie that Donnie's autistic, but it was confirmed by one of the writers that Donnie feels to him like he's on the spectrum. That's enough for me! Also a very quick sidebar. In the movie, the first 4 minutes are in an apocalyptic 2044, and future Leo says badass.
That and a badass mystic warrior.
That shocked me to my core. The movie is rated Y7. What?! I'm still so confused. I'm not offended that one of the turtles said a bad word. Parents of children swear around the kids all the time. My parents did, but they teach their kids that only adults can say the naughty words. So I'm not against it, but don't Y7 rated things not allow swears? I was so shook. I don't want to just regurgitate Skulltrot's video, because everything they said is just chef's kiss, but I'll touch on some things that I like. One is his voice. Josh Brunner does a fantabulous job voicing him. I think the direction that was given was just to sound nerdy, but Brunner just voices the character really superbly in my opinion. Donnie is shown to have sensory issues, stims in various ways, and info dumps.
My Fab spray is still in beta. Fab? F-A-B, foam agent bonding. It's state-of-the-art. Could
Not
change
this
the
again.
entire
See,
way
Raph,
we think
usually when
about
Donnie's in
safety
speech
and
mode, I could just run away.
There are multiple occasions where he refers to himself as being emotionally unavailable, being afraid of togetherness, not normally feeling things, and one time where Leo refers to his emotionless passion. But Donnie isn't emotionless. He definitely has them. He's just unfamiliar in expressing and understanding them.
Lesson 1. Because I said so is not an answer. You need to learn a healthy way to express your feelings to your family.
Yes, feelings. Hot, cold, hungry, sleep.
No.
Again, Skulltrot does a great job explaining this. I urge you to watch their video. I don't know where else to put this in the video, but I read a comment on a clip compilation where they said that Donnie is what happens when a nerd and a theater kid have a baby. So I don't know, keep that in mind. I love that the fam is understanding and accepting of Donnie just the way he is. They don't expect him to bend over backwards in order to communicate with them. His family makes an effort to understand how he communicates, and Donnie makes an effort to communicate with them. One of the things Skulltrot touches on is that Donnie kind of fits into a stereotype. He's a genius and a tech whiz. But his character isn't just that one-dimensional. He contributes other things to the team and is a loved member of the family. The climax of one of my favorite episodes, 208B, Donnie vs. Witchtown, touches on this.
Cuz I'm the science guy. If mystic powers can do everything I can do, but better, then why would you guys even need me?
Donnie, how could you say that? You aren't important to me because of your tech. You're important to me because of you.
Skulltrot words this as Donnie being insecure about his place on the team. There's other episodes where Donnie isn't just limited to his material contributions. In 123B Snow Day, we get to see the boys being goofy, and we get to see Donnie's personality, which isn't solely dependent on his tech. In 120A Mystic Library, we get to see Donnie being a goofy boy and memorizing the directions to a book in song form.
Room 16, take corridor B. Down the stairs past the ibis tapestry. Sliding bookcase after bookcase shows the way to the hall. Up the pole through a hole to the waterfall.
In 204A Breaking Purple, we get to see Donnie learning to be a better father figure to an AI drone he made. In 205A Pizza Puffs, we get to see Donnie being just as stupid as his brothers, and continuously eating mystic poisoned food, even though he knows it's poisoned. In 125, Insane in the Mama Train, we get to see Donnie kicking ass with just a regular bow, no tech or battle shell. And in 213B, Finale Part 4, Rise, we see that Donnie can use mystic powers, but doesn't give up on his love of tech. He just uses mystified tech, and it's cool as hell. Another thing that Skulltrot mentions is Donnie's alexithymia, that being the inability to recognize or describe one's own emotions. When they discussed an example in the show and shared their own experience with low empathy, I was like the picture of DiCaprio pointing at the TV. Because I'm like that. Look, it's me! Skulltrot mentions that low empathy is very stigmatized, but it doesn't have to mean that the autistic person with low empathy is an asshole, like other autistic-coded characters in media. An example in this show is in episode 111B, Pizza Pit.
I only pretended to care when it happened to Mikey's favorite place, but now that it's happened to me, I hurt.
The example that Skulltrot shares is when their friend's pet died.
I rarely talk about this because of how stigmatized it is, but I have low empathy. The best way I can describe what it's like is there was a time when my friend was talking to me about how one of her pets that died, and even though I have literally gone through a pet I grew up with dying, I didn't really feel anything when she said that, and I certainly didn't feel for her. Instead, I understood the logistics of sympathy. Her pet died, that's sad. I also had the awareness to be compassionate enough to not be a complete dick about it. I'm sure whatever I ended up saying to her was along the lines of Zuko's classic,
That's rough, buddy.
which to someone who doesn't know me well will probably take as rude, but she knew me well enough to know that that was me being genuine. My point being, me having low empathy and a general lack of awareness of not only others' feelings, but having a difficulty distinguishing my own, doesn't make me a bad person. I'm still capable of caring about people. I do care about people. That is what many writers get wrong. Low empathy doesn't mean you're unable to be compassionate, nor does it mean you're incapable of sympathy, nor does it mean you cannot care for or love another person. Autism itself doesn't make you hard to get along with, rude, hard to tolerate, difficult to communicate with, or emotionless.
Love how I said that I didn't want to blatantly copy their video, and I just lifted a huge paragraph. Whatever. I can relate to this sentiment. There'll be some happening that my mom and I are talking about, and I just don't care. I understand that other people would feel something, but I just don't. And I can't force myself to care, or force myself to lie about caring. Before this video, and by extension this episode, I wasn't very aware about others' experiences with alexithymia. I'd heard of the word, but it never occurred to me that my experiences would align with other people's experiences in the way of low empathy. I just knew that I was different. But now I feel so seen, that other people and characters in media are just like me. Another note about how I'm practically a Donatello Kinney, I also mispronounce words for fun, or I'm overly theatrical about something for no good reason other than to be goofy. I love being goofy. I love that people who watch Rise are seeing a representation of an autistic character that is an accurate depiction of an autistic experience, as a person who has strengths and weaknesses, and deserves to be treated as a member of the team and family. Love how a mutated turtle is more humanized than actual humans in the realm of autistic characters. I'm gonna have to write about autistic characters that I don't like in the future because they perpetuate harmful stereotypes, but I adore Donnie as autistic representation. Don is smart, but I wouldn't call him an autistic savant like Rain Man. I hate that movie. I'll have to share my opinions in future. Don may be emotionally closed off, but he's not emotionless, or called emotionless in universe. Well, he kinda is, but in a joking manner. Also, the autistic robot trope. Data from Star Trek is said not to be able to experience emotion, but he so does, just not in the way most people do. Autism. Don has other interests other than doing science stuff. like taking a break for pizza and skateboarding in 115A Mind Meld, and skateboarding in 108A The Longest Flight. Skulltrot mentions Entrapta from She-Ra, who was only there because of her expertise and material contribution to the team. I haven't seen any episodes of that, but I believe it. I realized that I should probably say some mean things in this review too. I'm reminded of the line in Tentacruel's Muse score video.
Now, through the course of this video, I'm going to be saying some mean things. I'm going to be saying some nice things. But most importantly, I'm going to be saying some mean things. Sorry, fair things. Yeah, I'm going to be fair.
The Rise team must have been running out of money, and some episodes for Season 2 got cut because of this. The team managed to get 4 episodes of a finale in, and the finale is great, but it's a bit rushed almost. I feel like if the team had more episodes to play with, they could have sprinkled in little pieces of information that will lead into the Season 2 finale, instead of dumping all this information on us within 48 minutes. So, to recap. Go watch Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because it looks gorgeous. The art style is parfait. The fight scenes have orgasmic choreography. There is actually good autistic rep. An autist-approved character, if you will. I'm pretty selfish, and I want to see more Rise Donatello. So go watch the movie on Netflix, and watch the show on a streaming service. Thanks for watching! This video started as an article I wrote for a class I'm in. Obviously, I chose to write about autism. Of our 5 articles to write this quarter, one needed to be a review. And what else to talk about other than my latest obsession? For those who subscribe to me because of my op-ed videos, thank you. I said before, but I can't get myself to sit down and edit them if I'm not in the op-ed zone. I have all the clips I want to add, but I need to edit them and make a good supercut. Anyways, have a great rest of your day.